Welcome back, everyone, to the Prop Room.
Hi.
I'm Lee.
I'm Ben. Still.
Yeah, you almost had to think about that.
Yeah.
Ben.
Yeah.
Ben.
I've been going by Benjamin for the last few days, so just transitioning back into Ben.
Okay. Who calls you Benjamin?
A guy that I went to meet to buy a roof rack for a car off was calling me by my Facebook name.
Benjamin.
Did
you tell him?
No, I didn't correct him. I don't mind it. So, yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Our guest today, Ben, you know this guest. I've never met this guest before, but you have a history. You've worked together before.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
We worked on Landscapers together, which is the BAFTA award-winning TV show that I keep talking about all the time, but only talking about it because it's fantastic. And May Davies was the supervising art director you were the art director on that show. That's right. And that's where we first met.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I was the art director, but there is a bit of a story as to how that came about, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is relevant to how my career went. So it's sort of starting in the middle of things, because that was straight after COVID.
Yeah.
So before COVID, I did quite a few things before I joined the film industry, but I did a master's in 2016, a bit later in life. I was 30 already by the time I did that.
Yeah.
Because I'd decided by that point I wanted to work in the film industry after doing a few other things, and studied theatre design at Wimbledon, and then started a career in kind of getting my foot in the door. So I was working on a lot of low budget projects, making a lot of short films, doing a lot of fringe theatre design, all leading up to 2020 when COVID hit, and it kind of put a big stop in everything. And I think one of the amazing things about COVID was, obviously it was terrible in lots of ways, but a lot of people had a lot of time on their hands, and there was a lot of kind of designers gave a lot of time in that period to talking and meeting, and a lot of amazing initiatives started, and one of them was Filmbase.
Right.
Filmbase, if you don't know, is a kind of jobs directory platform, which is pretty radical.
They have an Instagram account, don't they? Filmbase.
Yeah, you can join. It's not very expensive, and they basically put jobs out that are available. So
I think it's like £5 a year.
It's not a lot of money.
It's a very small membership fee, but it gives you access to the platform.
I think it's gone up a little bit, but it's still really affordable.
It's still affordable.
Yeah,
100%.
Maybe 30 quid.
Okay.
But it was really radical, because before that, it's all been kind of who you know. I mean, the film industry is very much kind of who you know, and people contacting the network for jobs. So that was really significant for me, because by that point, I'd kind of got quite a lot of experience, but I didn't have a network in the slightly bigger budget shows that you can really make a living and form a foundation of a career on. And the job for Landscapers came through Filmbase.
Oh,
right. Okay,
yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And also, interestingly, just before COVID, I'd already identified that I wanted to break out of the kind of lower budget world I was in. I was having a really good time, and I'd made a lot of progress and learned a lot of skills, but I wasn't in the next network. And I was working kind of as an assistant art director on low budget features and sort of TV series, and starting to get opportunities to art direct. Sort of a couple of features did pickups where the original team wasn't available, so I went in to do that. So that's where I was, and a friend of mine had given me a phone number of a supervising art director, a really big one, and I'd called him, and interestingly, he'd sort of told me that everything I'd done was slightly useless. And
okay, right. This was a cold call. You just phoned up out the blue, right?
Yeah, I think I arranged a phone meeting.
Right.
I'd sort of explained to this person what I'd been doing, and they kind of said, "You need to start again," and kind of.
Oh dear.
They might
forget everything you know.
Yeah. Sorry, but
come into like a big thing at the bottom, and they might be able to get me some work experience on, like a major motion picture.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God.
It's been hard to take, having done all of that and then to be told.
Yeah, I was a bit like
under 30, I suppose, approximately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I wasn't getting any younger, and
no.
Well, older, 35. So
35,
yeah, and I was kind of already old in some ways, doing assistant jobs and stuff. And yeah, it's weird actually. It's only 6 years ago, isn't it, Kate?
I know
Not that long ago.
it feels like it's a lifetime.
Like a whole world away.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this person may have kind of been right for some people, but I think people have very individual circumstances, and it's not always one path for one isn't always the right path for another. So I did believe them, and I was like, oh God, I'm gonna have to crack on and like start again and go to the bottom. And then COVID happened and sort of saved me from that future. But I had this ringing in my head, and I was when the advert came through Filmbase, and I replied to it. I think they were looking for all sorts of levels. And I replied to it and got an interview, and I was kind of chatting away. And interestingly, Fabrice, who was supervising art director, who's now a really good friend, and Christina, the designer, was someone that I'd met in sort of 6 years earlier on in fact, my first opportunity when I was still living in Cumbria, I'd spent a few days on a TV series up there, and it was Christina, the designer.
right.
So, she needed reminding, but that's totally fine. It was
That's okay.
a few days and years of working with people. So that was a nice little full circle moment.
Yeah.
And I said to them, I've been doing all this stuff, but I think I need to be an assistant again.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay. And then they offered me assistant art director, which I was like, brilliant. It's like the same as I've been doing. And then I started, and through the project, they were like, what's going on? You're like clearly an art director.
Hang about.
I was kind of drafting sets and dealing with construction, and I took Camberwell as a location. So
Camberwell prison, that is, isn't it? Where it's the magistrates' courts that we converted. Yeah.
Yeah, like a derelict magistrates' court. I kind of moved in there for a month or so, and oversaw that as a transformation into police headquarters. And so they sort of took it on themselves to actually change my credit. And
Right.
It's not an insignificant thing, because it's really hard to move up, actually. And I think you definitely need advocators in this industry, people who kind of give you a lift. It's like a really, that's something that's true the whole way through.
You can't necessarily do it on your own, I think, exactly, because the same thing almost happened to me on Landscapers and a lot of my team, and we were talking about this a little bit with Andrea, and the props team that got hired then, there was me. I'd never had a prop master job before. Emily Britton had never been a store person before. Andrew Phizacklea had never been a standby before. James Munmo had never been a charge hand. And it was the whole department was like, we'd all been around it long enough to watch somebody else do the job, but everybody was doing it for the first time. And it was Robert, the set decorator, who called me up and essentially said, it's happening now. And I'm like, what's happening now? It's like, it's time. But time for what? And he's like, you're in charge now. And he decided that it was time. Having had me under his wing for probably the best part of what felt like a decade on and off, he knew when the time and the project was right to put you in deeper water and go, okay, he'll be fine. But then it was also very interwoven with something called screen skills. So Sister Productions, who was running the job, got involved with screen skills, and screen skills was subsidizing my rate of pay as I was going through Robert was mentoring me. So the screen skills were paying for me to be on that crew as prop master, as long as I went through their training system, which meant that and I knew that there was other screen skills people in different departments. So it was a very clever way of like everybody graduating, the whole bunch of people graduating on that job that ended up winning a massive award, and everybody sort of going, okay, it's your turn.
Yeah.
You've got to prove yourself now. This is it. This is the exam. Can you do it or can't you do it?
Yeah.
And of course, everybody did it.
Yeah.
And we did it because everyone was so full of enthusiasm and desperate to do well in the exam. We ended up creating something that is quite iconic, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it was a completely amazing and brilliant project, and it hasn't left that kind of level in my mind. It's never, I had sort of made the mistake of thinking, brilliant, every job's going to be like this.
Yeah.
Down to the team, down to the way it was made. There were some less than ideal circumstances. It was COVID, so we were quite separated from each other, which wasn't as nice as it can be when you flow in and out of
It was tricky.
departments all the time. You had to have
Yeah.
wristbands and things to go
Yeah,
and
yeah.
speak to other departments. But yeah, it was such just in terms of like the producer as well, Katie from Sister.
Yeah.
I'd worked with her previously on a low budget thing, so it was a lot of converging of previous moments. And Will Sharp, he's just an amazing talent,
The
total
director, Will
genius.
Sharp.
Yeah. And Christina's such a brilliant designer, and together, what was kind of conjured up was so on point of what I love to make as well. Like
Yeah,
kind
me
of,
too.
theatre meets art installation meets
Yeah.
storytelling. It was
Because
such
we had a lot of theatre people crossing over at that point because all of the theatres were shut, so everybody in that industry was out of work, and then they're all slowly filtering over to the prop department specifically because a lot of the skills are transferable. So there was a real theatre aspect to it, especially from the design perspective, because a lot of it was very different to what I'd ever done before, quite theatrical, and the way everything was seen was like nothing I'd ever done before.
But also kind of designed from the emotion in the story.
Yeah.
It wasn't concerned with realism or naturalism. It was all about the emotional
journey of the
of
story.
the characters. Yeah, it was really incredible to be allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Tell us about your role then in more detail as to what you had to do on Landscapers.
Yeah, so as an art director, you kind of take the designer's vision and execute it
Right.
eventually.
Okay.
In terms of building the spaces that
Building that
become
vision.
the sets,
Yeah.
and then set decoration kind of inhabit that space with all the furnishings and bring it to life. So as an art director, I would, Christina would draw some
Just the basic concept of vision.
design the kind of layout, and we would do that with the director and also with the cinematographer, because one of the things so I did a couple of sets, but one of them was the Dagenham flat, which is the mother's flat where they lived for a bit, where the two lead characters lived, and sight lines became really important. So it was really important you could see them. One of the things Will wanted is you could see them from the front door in the living room, which was right at the back of the set. So we had to kind of design a space that allowed for that, and also
allowed for the camera to get in and
to
see those.
to actually see from the front door, open it and see a straight line through to the room that was the furthest away.
Okay.
So things like that kind of come into play in terms of how the space is laid out. And then I would kind of draft it in an architectural drawing style so that construction can build it.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's one of the key skills really for
Being able to
art director.
draft up those.
And that's something like SketchUp. Is it SketchUp that most people use, or is there other stuff out
It's
there?
such a common question to be asked what software is, and it's
Yeah.
kind of important and not important. I think
Right.
it's as long as you can kind of get a drawing out. The most important thing is a drawing communicates to a construction team how to build a set, and so any software you use to do that is fine. But yeah, SketchUp is a good one because it's semi-affordable, and you can you build a 3D model and then you can extract drawings from that. And I use Vectorworks, which is similar, but it just has, it's not. I don't know why. I guess I learned it in my masters a little bit, and then,
Right. I was going to ask when you learned how to do all that.
yeah. Well, so I mean, I did start to use it in my masters, but
Right.
a drop in the ocean. And I think the really key thing about learning technical skills is that you really need a project to
apply them to.
apply it to.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really hard to learn it in
Just drawing stuff
isolation.
random.
Yeah, just to
Yeah,
sit down and follow
yeah.
a video tutorial, nothing goes in. Well, for me anyway. And so that was one of the things in lockdown that I identified was slightly missing from my skill set. So I'm like, okay, I've done so much practical stuff because low budget is mainly location based. So
But if you're in that art department, that drawing skill is absolutely key. isn't
yeah,
it?
this is the difference between smaller budgets and bigger budgets. The stuff I was doing, say, pre-COVID, is more working in art departments of, say, 10-ish, and that's everyone, give or take, people coming in, and you wouldn't have an in-house construction team, but you'd maybe have carpenter dailies coming in for bits and bobs. But there's 10 of you, that's everyone. And so you get involved in everything. You're doing a bit of everything. But as the projects get bigger, the departments separate
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the skills become more focused.
Yeah.
More niche.
So it's less relevant, and I suppose that's what the supervising art director was maybe trying to tell me, is that it's not useful to know how to go and source from prop houses if you want to be in the art department.
Yeah.
But technical drawing does become important, and you can be a location art director,
Yeah.
but you still do need to draw and draft set elements on location,
Yeah, sure.
and do surveys and things. So yeah, it is a skill to learn. But yeah, Vectorworks is what I use.
It's
But
funny what you can achieve, really, because we just finished like a big Apple TV job called The Wanted Man, which
Yeah.
is 8 episodes and took
Mm-hmm.
the best part of a year.
Best part of the year,
probably.
yeah.
And the art department was 5 or 6 people. That was it. No one else. That was it.
Yeah, yeah.
And add on the graphics team, I suppose, which is where I've probably not added people up. It was still under 10, doing like a whole world
production, yeah.
big production, and still really a small team, and very young as well. 2 senior people, the designer and the supervising art director, who have both been working for 30 years. But then after that, the team is young. The team is in their maybe late 20s. Very early 30s at the absolute most, so probably been in the industry for sort of maybe 5 years, 4 or 5 years, something like that.
Yeah. No, it is incredible what you can do. I think there's different ways to form a team, isn't there? There's like build an army and then you can deal with anything, which productions sort of don't necessarily want to pay for up front. Or you build a core team and then hire in the specialist elements.
As and when.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
team is actually huge because, of course, like a lot of the elements of a set are specialist craft skills. And either you're employing those people full time through the project or you bring them in as necessary. And definitely on lower budget, it's the latter. It's you have a core team of not very many, and then you bring in, artists or metal workers or
To do that.
carpenters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like you can just do it with a few people, but the set.
No, yeah. The project has to kind of lend itself to making it feasible.
Yeah.
But
And I
they're important, those plans, just to finish off the plan chat.
Yeah.
They do when they come from the art department and into construction. Then the set decorating team uses the same plans. Then those same plans come all the way to the prop department. Prop
and the dresses.
use them,
Mm.
and then they'll carry on being used. So the importance of those things and how much usage you get out of those things spans multi departments.
Yeah, it's not just
effects,
it's not just the 2 people's eyes.
No,
Everyone needs to look at it and understand the same thing.
Everyone
same
attached
message.
to the art department uses those same plans, but for a slightly different set of attachments or problems or fixing points, or
Yeah.
electrical feeds and all of that kind of stuff. What are you going to see? How are you going to get cables in and out? All of that stuff. I mean, those plans would go to other departments as well, I'm sure. The electrical department,
Yeah.
Yeah.
grips,
you
would
sort of
know how
make-
much track to lay, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when you do a plan, you kind of layer it with different information and you turn layers on and off depending who is
Who's
looking at
Yeah,
it.
yeah, okay.
Because otherwise it would look too complicated.
Too much
But
information, yeah.
sometimes for that set, the Dagenham set, I remember doing a socket plan.
Right.
The
Yeah.
gaffer who was insistent on making about 1 million sockets live.
Right, okay.
Everything could be switched on and off properly.
So when you get a conflict, how do you deal with that? Like,
So that's another big skill of an art director is
Right.
not just sitting in an office drawing a plan, it's taking that and talking to all the different departments
okay.
to sort of explain it, because plans can be interpreted in different ways as well.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful what you put on to the plan,
Yeah.
or that if there's no time, plans get sort of interpreted literally, and that can not always be the right thing if there's a mistake on it, for example. But do you mean like a conflict in terms of
Yeah, like if somebody wants all those sockets and yet the next layer can't allow for that, you have to then maybe say to that first department,
so that's
in a way you can't have exactly what you want, but I can offer you this.
So another kind of part of the job is scheduling the build. So that's exactly right, is you have a certain amount of weeks to get a set up.
Right.
You need to leave enough time for lighting to light and dressing to dress. And that can be, anything from a day to 2 weeks or more,
Right.
depending how big and complicated the set is. So you have to think about that to start with, and then you work back and you talk to the construction manager. How long does it take to put the timber up, and then how long will it take to do the plastering elements and the painting? The plaster's got to dry. We were in winter in a shed.
A really big shed.
We had some really big problems with plaster, actually.
right.
Not drying and then cracking.
Figuring
Okay.
out a way to actually heat
Yeah.
it up to the
Okay.
point where it would go off properly.
And
then
so,
put
yeah.
paint on it in
Yeah, yeah.
time for the paint to dry.
And then those are the kinds of things that you come across. Like,
Yeah. Which wouldn't be apparent.
yeah, you might not have
you
thought
know,
about that.
Not in the real world, certainly, in
Yeah.
terms of like dry time for plaster.
Yeah, you just assume that you plaster something and that's
It's on
it.
camera
but-
in 2 days.
Yeah.
You've
How
got
do
to
you do
pose it,
Yeah.
light it, and decorate it in those 2 days as well. So
Yeah.
the plaster has to go off like now.
We also had pigeons flying around,
There's a lot of
filling on the
pigeons
set.
in there. Yeah,
That was unexpected.
yeah, it was pretty grim.
So then they had to put in birds of prey at the weekend to catch them,
Yeah,
which was unusual. Like
it
they-
wasn't, that whole experience was quite unusual. Yeah. And this is, we're not talking about one set. So normally on any kind of given project, you'll be managing, one set where the plaster won't dry, then another 5 or 6 or 7 sets,
Mm.
some in a studio, some in South London, some in West London, maybe some out.
And you're
of London.
responsible for all of it.
And you're multi-site managing. Look,
Yeah,
maybe
divide
you,
and conquer.
yeah,
Yeah.
you and the team are then all looking at the schedule, seeing the order, and then
Mm.
basically trying to sort of jump around everywhere to site manage these individual places. For example, the Magistrates Court.
Mm.
I remember there was a huge set downstairs, like the processing area. And then I'm sure there was other sets around the building that we went off to do the
Yeah.
other things. So even on one
Yeah.
location, because it's more cost effective to shoot multi sets in one location,
Mm.
you make the most of when you go to a big place and
Yeah.
you can fit 5 or 6 or 7 different elements of the story all into one place.
Oh yeah, the producers love the silver bullet location.
you save a lot. You save a lot of money in
Yeah.
terms of the location fee, but then you make the art department's life pretty
Yeah,
nutty.
You walk
because
into one more derelict room and say, "Oh, this could be
This
the."
could be
it's
the
going to be the CCTV room. I
Yeah.
remember we did that upstairs, I think, which was like hundreds of monitors,
Yeah.
new carpet, new walls, new blinds, new lights, everything.
So what skills enable you to keep on top of all of this? Like, is it an organizational skill? Like, what core skills do you think you need to possess to stay on top of all that?
Yeah, there's definitely core skills. So it definitely comes down to teamwork. So,
Mm.
like I was saying, the supervisor and art director will keep an overview.
Right.
So once the schedule has been kind of laid out for the whole shoot, the sets get divided into art directors to kind of oversee individual sets, and a supervisor and art director will oversee everything.
Right.
So you have a support. It's not just on your own, and that's a role that I've kind of moved on to do a bit of as well in more recent projects. And
And
then
it does come in kind of a form, isn't it? Just sorry to interrupt. There's like a big, ginormous art department document which has the entire schedule and sets, all of the different art department sub departments in, and exactly when they're going to be. Like the greens department is green. I can't. Props is blue, and art is red. Construction is something else, and it's this huge. If you look at it from distance, there's no way you'd ever understand what it was.
you mean
it's a-
the set and strike?
The set and strike plan, that's
yeah.
what it's called.
Yeah, and that's something. So yeah, the kind of organizational skills I think is something that comes quite naturally to me.
Right.
And I think that might be something that I've got from previous work.
Okay.
So the whole kind of timeline of starting a bit later isn't. It does feel like there's catching up to be done, but I think all the skills that you accrue in other walks of life are really transferable to the film industry.
You've had other jobs outside. of the
Yeah,
film
real
career,
world
so-
jobs.
And you're not the first person to say that, actually.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
actually, what you should do at some point, like just to quickly recap, like I was a waiter and a barman for a little bit of time,
Mm.
and like serving people, silver serving
yeah.
at weddings, and serving people paying a lot of money for their dinner. I find really useful.
Yeah.
Like still find that insanely useful today. Working in a supermarket when I was 16.
Yeah, I've done
stock-
retail as well.
Stock
yeah.
checking, moving heavy items in a place where you need to be safe, how to be in a warehouse and understand all of that kind of stuff. I still use that now. Really, really useful.
Yeah. You don't think they're useful at the time.
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you?
really, really
When you go into
transferable
film, you
immediately.
realise actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how to do that.
Knowing how
Know
to talk
do
to
that.
people, like when I worked in retail, learning how to talk to customers from all walks of life.
I
And
think
enables
that's
me
it, yeah.
to
Just
be able to talk to-
reading the person that you're
Yeah,
about to
reading the
talk to,
room,
going,
yeah.
okay, what's
Yeah.
my approach? Are they which kind of slight character trait do I need to
Yeah.
employ
Yeah.
to make this negotiation about where the plug sockets are going to go better?
Yeah.
Do you know what
I think it's definitely that thing about learning to talk to all sorts of different people from different backgrounds, because as a member of the art department, you're instructing people who are much more skilled than you in a
Right.
certain craft or whatever.
Yeah.
And hospitality, definitely. I mean, I've had a whole career in hospitality, I think, by
Okay.
now. Like, my first job, well, this isn't hospitality, but my first job, I was 13, working in a hairdresser's, being paid £1.50 an hour.
£1.50 an hour, yeah.
Sweet hair. Hated that job, so quickly moved on to a pot washing job. And then
Love a pot
spent,
wash.
since then, I've always worked in hospitality. I lived in a restaurant and co-ran a restaurant when I was in Cumbria, and then later on also co-run and still half and half in a pub.
Right.
So it's a bit of a side hustle for me. And
Yeah.
hospitality, I think, has loads of parallels with film work. But I think also my main job before I even transitioned to the film industry was in a kind of organisational role in a charity. And that's what I did in Cumbria for kind of 8 years. I worked in a charity in Barrow-in-Furness that uses filmmaking as a kind of social engagement tool.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So we
What's
would...
that? Is that still running? Is that?
Oh, yeah. It's Signal Films.
Signal Films.
Yeah, it's an incredible charity. So it kind of, I mean, I don't know how far to go back really, but when I first graduated and moved back to Ulverston,
Yeah.
I kind of knew that I wanted to work in the creative job. So I just sent my CV anywhere and everywhere and ended up working at a canteen, a converted canteen, which was a music venue. And this entrepreneur had turned the shipyard canteen, because in Barrow they built the submarines
That's
that
right, yeah.
Mm.
defend the UK. It's a big shipbuilding town.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of works hard, plays hard. It's quite industrial,
Yeah.
very working
Very
class.
industrial, yeah.
It's there's not a lot of creative outlets, but there are some incredible creative organisations. I think it benefited from some 80s funding. Anyway, so I worked in this canteen music venue, and as a sort of slightly strange side project, the guy who ran it had a filmmaking company. So we used to shoot videos in the shipyard.
Oh,
So I
wow.
was like, I'd sign the Secrets Act and then go and film
Amazing.
people like, welding pipes onto pipes. And I got to see like
Okay.
the submarines, like the cross section of the submarines, amazing.
Oh, wow.
And so I would learn to edit and camera, and that was my focus for a while. I was
Yeah.
like quite keen on camera,
Mm.
and I've always loved photography.
Yeah.
And then in the same town, there's this incredible charity called Signal that is a bit more creative. So it raises funding and then runs projects. So we would raise money, plan projects, run projects, and they would also make short films with the kind of UK Film Council money that all...
Yeah.
I mean, sadly, I graduated into the year before the global financial crash, so it was all a bit...
That's 2008, wasn't it?
Yeah,
2008.
2007 I graduated. Then it was the crash. Then it was the beginning of the austerity regime that the Tories inflicted on us all. And places like Barrow, the impact on the community of that was really severe.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the pressure on our service became a kind of, core community service. So we would kind of run filmmaking projects for kids where the sort of aim of it was giving them lunch in a holiday.
Yeah, yeah.
But then we would also provide a very real professional opportunity for people who wanted to not work in the shipyard. but
Find a
wanted
way
to
out. Of the
Find a way
shipyard,
out, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's essentially how I found my way into film, because
Yeah.
we would post people onto films that visited the lakes for shoots. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how I
yeah.
got the opportunity on the first TV series with Safe House with Christina. And then actually with a big significant one was on Swallows and Amazons with the prop master, Muffin Green.
Oh, yeah.
So I worked with Muffin for a couple of weeks on Swallows and Amazons, and that was, he was really encouraging and a
Yeah.
big kind of transformational point, I think, in my history. He kind of wanted to continue giving me a job, but I was just about to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
my master's,
yeah.
and then we've kept in touch, sadly, haven't worked together since.
No, I did Cruella with him, and we've talked for years and years and years, and only ever done one job together. But are constantly communicating.
It can happen, can't it? You can meet someone
Yeah.
once and then never see him again.
He's a big advocate for sort of bringing everybody on and
Yeah.
spreading the word about good people that are out there to sort of keep the strength in the art department. I just wanted to go back on touching something you just said about learning a bit of camera and how those kind of skills are transferable in terms of how you compose a shot, a photography shot, then how you compose a shot for a live camera, and how important that is to then you can take that skill away from the other side of the camera and learn how to compose a shot and a set as an art director, as a production designer, and as a prop dresser. You can understand the shape of a room and read the script and understand how things will ebb and flow, so that you're not just thinking of it in terms of color and pattern and time. You're also thinking about it in terms of camera composition, lighting composition, and stuff like that. And I think it's what kind of elevates great dressing teams, speaking from my point of view, from the average dressing team to a team of real set dressers who understand the full craft of the whole unit of people, so that you're allowing for it to be stimulated more, I guess, from a visual perspective, in terms of doing your bit for camera as well, and not just chucking it all in a room and going, just shoot that, it'll be fine.
Yeah, completely. I mean, there's so much to know and to sort of design for and to tweak, and ultimately as well, there's a lot that's out of your control. And I think even knowing that is important. So I think it's really beneficial to know camera, to know how lenses change the size of a room. And you can know all that, because you can know all that, but it can not be relevant as well.
Sure,
So, you could spend forever kind of very particularly designing a set that's going to be seen from a certain place through a certain lens, and then on the day the lens changes and the camera turns around.
Everything's thrown out,
You've wasted like 6 weeks of where exactly to hang the prison light in one of those little cells, and then you never really see it.
So I think it's a balance, but it's also where standby comes in really well as well, to kind of be flexible in those scenarios. But I think understanding camera is the missing element that, so like the things that I loved before I even knew film was a thing was art installation and then later theatre. And the lens is the difference between those two things. Photography as well to a certain extent, but like you said, that's a snippet in time. It's a frame. And in film, there's 25 frames a second, or it's so I think that when you plan for a still shoot, you can tweak it much more. You can craft it in a certain way, but when you're juxtaposing different stills next to each other, it forms an arc and a narrative and a story, and that's so powerful. I think that's what we all love about filmmaking and storytelling.
Because this kind of leads us into the triangle that we're going to talk about, in terms of the 3 points that connects.
Absolutely. So like, I mean, a director of photography, and a production designer. Interestingly, I went to a talk recently where the person was talking about the beginnings of film, and I've never seen it spoken this way, but it's so expressive to call it the director of actors, the director of photography, and the director of art.
Yeah.
And it's actually just three directors forming a team that create this thing, three equal directors.
Yeah.
And I think that does sometimes get lost along the way. And almost when our name changed, so famously Gone with the Wind was the first time an art director was called a production designer.
Right.
Because it was an elevated role, because I think they did that because the role was so large and so pivotal to the production that it needed an elevated title.
Yeah.
And perhaps there's an argument that that's almost made us more invisible.
Yeah. Right.
And art direction is more understandable. A lot of people don't. Production design's a bit of a mystery, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you asked anyone at Hertfordshire Uni, let's say, can you name me can you name me 10 directors?
Yeah.
Can you name me 10 DOPs?
Mm.
And can you name me 10 production designers?
Yeah.
I know what the answer would be.
Yeah.
Everyone would be,
Mm.
you could name 10 directors in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
DOPs, you could probably get 6 or 7 in, I
Mm.
imagine, before people started running out of names. Production designers, could anyone
Mm.
name
Yeah,
a single one currently working, or from the entire history of cinema?
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? And I think that the personalities almost tend to fit the roles. So I don't think production designers particularly want that limelight.
Mm.
And there are different elements that affect those different roles. So directors work directly with actors, and actors are often celebrities.
Mm.
The directors of photography are on set with those actors. They get to know them, they get to know the director. The production designers, around but looking ahead, so they're not present as
Yeah.
the DOP and the director. So I can see how all of those things have happened, but yeah, it is very important to kind of remember that creative triangle is the fundamental kind of beginnings of any kind of crafted set.
Because of your sort of 29 noted short films, you've production signed pretty much all of those, haven't you?
Shorts, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
the shorts.
So
sorry.
my whole career since I graduated from my master's, actually I did a couple of shorts before that just to test the water, but I've kind of constantly I've had 2 kind of career paths. One designing shorts that have led into features, and the other side kind of working as an art department assistant up to supervising art director. And those 2 things are currently live. And I'm just kind of hoping to concentrate a little bit more on designing, but at the same time, there's so much to be learned from art directing on the bigger scale that, I wouldn't necessarily leave that behind right now.
Yeah, it's funny, you don't always know which direction to run in, but
No.
you end up running in circles a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, and that's something, this whole thing about saying yes to every opportunity, that's definitely something I did at the beginning. And I think depending on your circumstances and what opportunities there are for you, definitely advisable to kind of just take, opportunities whenever they come up. But I think there does become a time where you almost have to
focus
and think, actually, do I want to do this one? So shorts are so, I love them so much. And if I could make a living from them, then
Wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Because they're so experimental. You can,
Yeah.
you can test ideas out. On the last feature film that I designed, I used like a technique from a short that I'd done where we made a set out of like netting material for tutus. It's such great material because it holds its body, and we did an experimental short where the whole thing was a nest made out of that, and I had that in my brain to kind of pull out of the bag when we needed to do something low budget and quick and interesting, and it lights really well, so we used it as like a inside of a shed scene for a feature that we did. So yeah, I think that they are extremely kind of useful for network. So a lot of the feature films that I have worked on or have potentially will work on with director friends that are kind of developing features in various stages of funding have come from short films. So those relationships are kind of starting to
Blossom. Yeah.
And loads of people you meet, crew, kind of people who love films, they kind of pop up on shorts and then you see them on a project.
And I think a lot of the people that are on the shorts, it's like you're saying, it's not a big, you can't pay the bills. So everybody who's there is there really
For the craft. Yeah.
And really truly sort of making something new and slightly different. And let's try this, let's try that. We haven't got any money. What can we do instead? And that goes across the board from director to cast to DOP to art department to everybody's kind of there for the purest of the reasons.
Yeah.
And that really does, 9 times out of 10, it does come across through that short, because you can feel the energy to some of those things, and they're truly
yeah. And I think that's how I choose a short now. It would have to be something where I get to really play. So the priority is on art department, rather than a lot of shorts, which I understand why are kind of actor led and need an art department to kind of provide a few props and transport them from one place to another and turn up.
That was going to be my next question. How do you choose the short? How do you do it? But yeah, you've just answered that.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I'd have to be available and also to know that it wasn't going to clash with a really great longer opportunity.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult because you don't want to let people down. So
That's another skill,
Yeah.
really, that kind of
Learning when to say
balancing
no,
your
and-
diary to make sure
Yeah.
you can make enough money and all of that kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
another skill set.
So sometimes it's happened, like the last short I did was actually directly before a feature film, and it was with one of the producers. So we knew the feature was pushed, and there was a few months before that was happening, and one of the co-producer was making a short, and I was like, well, yeah, great. And it's actually quite a good opportunity to get to know them
Yeah.
and just form a bit of a relationship before you then went into the feature. So that was a really nice
And
example.
it's a different environment as well. So it's you do bond really strongly with somebody, I think, in
Yeah.
those short scenarios because of what I was saying before. There's a real crack element to it.
But I think there is also a time to leave them behind as well. And
Yeah.
there's an element of letting other people do them as well, because there are,
Like a rites of passage.
Yeah.
Right?
Because there's also quality markers. So sometimes if they've been through the schemes, which are really hard to get onto, but it's had an element of script kind of editing or support from like the BFI network. So the early days for my shorts, I was kind of responding to maybe Facebook ads or whatever, and then that was the sort of very first ones, and then people would ask me, and then
Your name gets passed around.
and then eventually they moved on to the kind of funded ones, which felt like a significant step. And yeah, maybe a proof of concept as well. If it was a pre-existing relationship and we wanted to kind of test an idea that would help a feature or something. Yeah. It's tricky though, because they are they don't cost nothing, and it costs time and money. And,
Yeah.
you don't really. Yeah, sometimes you're better off resting actually.
Yeah.
Rest is important.
It is important.
Or like learning something, or it's one of the things that you can do of many in between jobs to keep you active and engaged. So that can be just sleeping and looking after yourself, or making a short, or learning a new skill, or
Yeah.
it's just choosing when. So
Because you do a lot of work, don't you, through a lot of the sort of, should we call them governing bodies, or the BAFTA and the BDFGs and the BFI, and they're all kind of interlinked with a lot of that short world, but then transferring into like low budget independent British cinema, and then the BDFG is more concentrated on design, but also kind of bringing new talent through the ranks and sort of making sure they're recognised to keep the whole art department and industry sort of evolving, I suppose.
So these are all networks, and that's actually something that's really important. So almost straight away, this is another kind of thing that depends on your specific time and place, because I joined BAFTA crew in about 2017, and sadly it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And that was a really amazing network, and it was exactly what you're saying. So for emerging talent could join BAFTA very cheap, another kind of £30 a year type thing. And it would be a pool of different specialisms and they put on loads of networking, and we used to go to the BAFTAs and have different opportunities together. And I got a cohort from there for sure that we make films together. And actually in COVID, a few of us set up almost like a project called Micro Shorts, where we decided to kind of network by making shorts together. And the important thing was that they were micro lengths, so they weren't too onerous, because when it's a 10-15 minute
Micro is like under 5, is that right?
yeah, well, we did
short.
different ones. We did one round that was 90 seconds.
Oh, really?
And then we did one
Okay.
round that was 2 minutes or something. And
Yeah.
we did about 3 rounds. People applied, and we put teams together, and then
Oh, wow.
people went and made shorts. So
That sounds like a good idea.
one of those shorts was the one I was just referring to with
Oh,
the
yeah.
netting.
Oh, yeah.
And then the BFDG, which is the British Film Designers Guild, that's actually a guild for everyone in the art department. So
Yep.
it operates on a few levels, but there's definitely a network of emerging art department within that, so you
Yeah.
can kind of make things together. What else am I part of? now part of the Production Designers Collective, another amazing network of production designers all around the world. But that's more peer support, I suppose.
Right.
But yeah, those kind of networks where you are in with other crafts, like other directors, cinematographers, the other elements of filmmaking
Yeah.
is really good to get into. And being part of a university gives you that. And because I didn't go through a film course, even when I did my master's, it was at an art school. So I had to make my own network. And I think short films have kind of been a film school.
Yeah.
So, and all film schools come to an end. So,
Yeah. And you
never say
graduate.
never, but I haven't done
No.
one for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
But it would have to be quite special, I think,
Yeah.
to do.
Lure you back into
Yeah.
the pond.
Just because as well, you there's a limit to what you can create in a low budget, and there
Yeah.
comes a point where
Yeah.
you have quite ambitious ideas, and if you can't
You can't realise
beat them, yeah,
Yeah. Be quite resourceful and
yeah. But then those skills carry through right to forever.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Excellent. What is happening right now? What are you up to? What are your hopes and aspirations for 2026?
Well, gosh, there's a question, isn't it? Because
Uh,
yeah, when you look back, it's quite easy to see chapters
yeah.
of your journey. I'm sure you can both think that as well. And they're kind of quite neatly compartmentalized into that was that bit. And I do
Yeah.
wonder what's next. But right now I'm actually designing an exhibition. I'm interested in that because I recently went to this event, Set and Scene. I don't know if you heard about
I know
it.
about it.
I haven't. No.
Really fantastic because it's about industries crossing over and what we can share from each other. And I've always kept in with the theatre network that I have from when I was doing theatre, which kind of came to an end at COVID because
Yeah.
theatre design is quite tricky to make a living from. It's kind of like fringe theatres like short films,
Yeah.
even less money than short films.
Yeah.
So there came a point where that wasn't sustainable for me, but I had a good few years doing some plays that I'm really proud of. So I kind of love that network, and I'm still with another acronym, SBDT, which is the Society of British Theatre Designers.
Mhm.
So, and because I'm in both of those pools, I kind of helped put them together actually.
Mm.
And the people that organise Set and Scene are friends through the Film Designers Guild as well. So they brought together many different industries. And there was some really interesting talks about immersive exhibition installation. It's the sort of thing that you might have come across. Like
Yeah.
we did one with landscapers, but we weren't really involved. When a TV show launches and they do like
I remember. I
an
wasn't there, but I
installation.
saw the photos. Yeah.
And that kind of element of the industry is quite interesting
Yeah.
to me. And it would be nice to be able to work on a project that does something like that and see it through.
They did an amazing one. I just finished. I just starting a TV show called The Rook in 3 Mill Studios, and we moved in there just as Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs film had finished,
Mm.
and they'd been there for about a year, doing all of their set builds and this, literally stop frame animation, and the coordinator from that job had moved over to be the coordinator on our job, and he was telling me all about it, and there was still some skips of stuff there, so I was in the skips looking for trinkets as well. But he said there was an exhibition in town that you should go to, which was free, and basically Wes Anderson and the film company had arranged to take all of his stuff, not all of it, but like a massive amount of the set builds, and move them to this exhibition thing. So you could see all of the stop frame mega city sets that he'd built, Trash Island and stuff, and then in the middle of it they built like there's some scene in the movie where they go into like a restaurant, like a cafe restaurant. They
I went to
built
that
the
before.
whole restaurant in the middle of the exhibition. So you walked in and saw a bunch of stuff, and then you walked into a full size, scaled up version of one of the sets from the stop frame animation. And then, of course, they had a lot of sort of, the music of the drums playing as you walked around and stuff like that. And it generally felt like, walked straight into this cartoon. It was just like the most incredible exhibition I've probably ever been to. Because I'm like a massive Wes Anderson fan anyway, but particularly of his stop frame stuff, which I just think is magical. And then to actually see it and then be able to touch it in
Yeah.
your size all of a sudden was like mind-blowingly incredible.
Yeah, it's lovely to be able to
And then
take
some of his
that.
set builds, when you saw them from the side, it's funny, you see them flat on, you're like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. You look at it from the side and
You can
know,
see all the inner
it's a
workings.
load of cardboard of some Christmas lights.
Yes.
And you're like, no way could that be like how they've
Yeah.
done it. I mean, I'm accentuating it
Yeah.
there a little bit, but it was like that.
So
It
back
was-
to that question about camera, that's a really extreme example of how understanding camera, you can basically get more for your money by doing kind of trick shots. It's less common. Like we all know projects where we've had to kind of build everything for real and dress 360 and you're shooting in a house, so we've literally built a house. But actually that kind of filmmaking craft of trickery and that Wes Anderson does a lot of. And also, one of my favourite filmmakers, Roy Andersson, the Swedish filmmaker, he does loads of that too. And they're just, you increase the scale without increasing the budget
Yeah.
through craft. And that's,
Well, it's like on Landscapers, there's 2 or 3 examples on that. There's they built a pub on a runway,
Right.
but with one back wall and just lit it from above at night time.
yeah, it's
It's
beautiful.
part of a dream sequence. The most incredible thing I've ever seen. And then for a couple of scenes in the house where the murder takes place, they just took the side of the house off, so you could see it like you could see it like it was like a kid's dollhouse when you open it. All of a sudden, it was like, how could you ever dream up to do that? And it and then working on and then seeing it on screen and going, well, yeah, just take the side of the house off, and there's your shot. Just take the side of the house off. There's no problem. It's just like it's like 20 screws and a couple of cables,
Yeah.
and then you can play along the side like it's a theatre stage. All of a sudden, it becomes a piece of theatre, and you play the scene out like it's a piece of theatre, but on TV. It's just really like hyper imaginative.
But yeah, I think that exactly this cross industry kind of idea was quite a good sort of thing to keep an eye on and
Yeah.
move into. And yeah, this exhibition I'm doing is a lot of fun. It's a Gothic literature exhibition, so at a museum in Cumbria. So it's nice to do something back at home as well.
Yeah.
And they're exhibiting kind of a first edition Frankenstein. So I'm basically creating atmosphere in a room. But also I've got the feature film that I mentioned earlier that I designed in Ireland about 18 months ago is coming out now.
Yeah.
So it's going to premiere at Karlovy Vary Film Festival
Yeah.
Great.
and Galway. So that's exciting.
And
It's
what's
been-
that called?
That film's called Learning to Breathe Underwater. And that was a really good example of a really tiny core art department, but the kind of one of the main characters is an artist. And as soon as you read that in a script, it's like, okay, makes lots of different kinds of artwork in not very much prep. So we kind of found a lot of local artists in Galway, which was a real pleasure to meet lots of people and work with, painters, metal workers. It was a whole merry band of crafts coming in. So it was a really creative project. So I'm looking forward to that kind of being out there. And then also I supervised and art directed on a film last year with very creative team. Kevin MacDonald directing, Anthony Dodmantle, cinematographer who shot Feston famously, which is like amazing film, and working with a Kevin designer who actually Kevin Timon Hill, who worked on Wes Anderson Isle of Dogs, and I think he had a lot to do with the exhibition that you just talked
It's
about.
really incredible.
So he's really
I've got some photos actually that I could probably put online
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
exhibition or tagged onto this episode because I mean it was just the most mind blowing thing. But I've got loads of photos from that exhibition.
Yeah, and he's someone else that's come from a different career earlier and does a bit of exhibition design. So yeah, I think it's just very interesting to be able to, I think, keep flexible at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah,
Who knows where the film industry is going? I don't know. But hopefully more independent features.
I think so. I'm really trying to read as much as I can to not have a massive panic attack every time I wake up. And I think that's where it will push back into sort of more individual voices. But there will be a giant car park fight, just to bring that up again, between us and a bunch of robots at some point pretty soon.
Yeah.
So bring a weapon, make a weapon at home in your garage that can kill a giant 12-foot robot. Yeah.
Water bomb.
Start thinking about it now. That's what we should all be drawing when we get home. robot killing weapons.
For any students that are, you know, currently studying and looking to get into sort of films and currently going through that process of maybe doing student shorts and stuff, what advice would you give them? Like,
Well, a student studying film is already miles ahead of me at that age. So
Okay.
You're doing well.
congratulations.
You're doing good,
You're
yeah.
well,
Yeah. I think never stop learning is one thing, and kind of constantly join everything. And there's amazing organizations. I
You
think,
mentioned film-based, didn't you?
yeah, Filmbase is really great. They have a newcomer platform, so you can join as a newcomer with no
Okay.
credits. Talking Point's definitely worth a mention. I haven't mentioned
We
them
talked
yet.
about that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A big part of my journey as well. So I attended tons of sessions from like 2000 in that pre-COVID era, 2017, you know, into early 2020s. Amazing organization run by Helen, and Ben does the prop course, doesn't he? But they
Yeah.
do so much demystifying. So I think learning about the art department,
Yeah.
because it's not easy to understand from the outside, and especially when you're making student shorts. I think a lot of universities, and this is actually something that I think needs addressing across the UK, is a lot of courses that are kind of generic filmmaking, they'll focus on writer, director, producer,
Right.
editor, DOP, 5 specialisms. A lot of them don't even teach production design, and if they do, it's an optional module. So
Yeah.
I have a little bit of insight into this in the strikes. My friend Sarah Mersel, who's a production designer, runs the course at Ravensbourne. So funnily enough, she had a job and no one else did, but I went and took over her course for a term.
At Ravensbourne.
Yeah.
I went to Ravensbourne.
Did you?
I did.
Amazing.
I did
So
indeed.
I taught the second year's production
Okay.
design for a term. It was so fun. And I kind of, to them, I just stopped them from, they do a lot of practical work on short films, and I kind of not stopped them from doing that, but in my classes they did more aspirational hypothetical projects, because I think that it can be easy to forget the design process
Right.
is like a process on its own, and the actual executing of a film, which is all of the roles that we've talked about, so props, art direction, set decoration, that doesn't exist necessarily. So it should really be a team effort. It's not for the production designer the one production design student to go and get everything and
Do
lift
it
it all
all.
out of the
Yeah,
van, and that should be a team effort, or there should be more bodies for that, because
I think it is going to happen,
yeah,
and eventually it'll be no benefit to me and you, but I think the
Yeah.
tides will start to turn.
and I think that's where some of the attitude begins, you know, and it then travels into
Yeah.
the industry. So
Yeah.
people learn this in the courses. So I
You
think,
understand it, yeah.
yeah, it's not just for the production design students to learn about the art department, but for everybody, because
Everybody,
it's
yeah.
such a pivotal part of
100%.
a film, especially in the lower budget. It's really where you can focus on elevating films.
Yeah, totally.
And like I spoke to, there's part of the Production Designers Collective, another acronym that I'm involved in. I don't even know what it's called. PDREN, Production Design Research Education Network.
Right.
So it's a bunch of academics from all around the world.
We'll put all these links where we, and
Yeah.
at the end,
These
we'll
links
put
on
all
it.
these
Like a
links.
massive piece of like
Yeah.
the alphabet, essentially, in a jumbled up order.
They're an amazing group of, they all kind of like run production design courses at various
Okay.
institutions all around the world.
Yeah.
And they've banded together and they're kind of sharing best practice. And I was chatting to someone at a university in the UK the other day, and she was saying they have the pleasure of a set building course. So when the set builders, you know, like carpentry, craft skills, so when they have the good fortune of being able to build things, not just from any random people drilling some flats together, but some of the tutors thought that then that wasn't the production designer's work, and they would mark them down. And it's kind of like this misunderstanding of what
Yeah.
the process is. It's
Yeah.
really quite detrimental, I think, to the industry when people leave and start working. So there's a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Right,
It's
so-
happening.
One of the people in that network is an author. She's written a lot of production design books that have may or may not have read, but she's got a new book coming out called The Designer's Story, and she's asked designers to contribute chapters. So I've
Okay.
contributed a chapter,
Oh,
which that's
interesting,
another
okay.
thing I've been keeping busy with, is sort of editing that for a
There's
while.
another link in the bio.
There's another link, yeah.
And that is about, it's called We're Only as Good as Our Team, and it's about
Okay,
crewing
great.
for low budget, kind
Great.
of aimed at producers really to kind of
Fantastic.
educate people about what the art department is. But it should be quite an interesting read. I've case studied 4 films from around the world of low budget feature films that
Okay.
have been made.
Well,
We'll go-
when it comes out, you can come back and see us again, and then
And sign my copy if that's okay.
yeah, we'll get some copies in, and you can
Yeah.
we can give some away on our
Yeah,
website or
100%. Yeah,
something like
100%.
that.
There are some other chapters that I think
Yeah.
are going to
Oh, we
be
won't
also
read
much
those. We'll
more
just read yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May, thank you very much for that. That's an amazing insight.
Yeah, brilliant. You can follow us on Instagram
Yep.
at the Prop Room, and you can follow,
Email us as well.
Yeah, you can email us and all of that kind of stuff. And then by the time you see this, there'll also be the YouTube channel that is pumping out.
Yeah.
the
So leave a
Art
comment.
Department theme tune.
Any questions you want to ask,
Yeah,
drop a comment and we'll do our best.
yeah, great.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you, mate.